Hey there, you are listening to the B2U podcast, and I am your host, VANESSA MATHEWS, the founder and Chief Resilience Officer of Asphalis Advisors. The B2U podcast is brought to you by cbrbiz.com, a site connecting you with the resources you need to start and run a business in the Charlotte region. We're bringing business resources directly to you. We discuss a wide range of topics like starting and growing a business, navigating government contracts, and how to set your business apart in and around Charlotte. We're talking with small business experts to get exclusive advice on how to start and run a successful business. Charlotte Business Resources has a long history of lifting up small businesses around Charlotte. Today, we brought some of them in to catch up and hear how they were impacted by CBR. We have Amy Chirico, founder of Aerial CLT, and Brandi Jones of Honey Butter Bakery. So, Amy, we're going to get started with you. Can you tell our listeners more about you and more about Aerial Charlotte?
Of course. My name is Amy, and I have been in Charlotte for about 10 years. My background is in education. I started teaching music just out of college, and I loved it. And I eventually found myself learning aerial, loved that, and it was a really natural transition to start teaching aerial. It honestly was a hobby job that kind of ran away with me, and 10 years later, I have a fairly large aerial studio. So for those that don't know, Aerial is a really unique group fitness class, but more commonly known as Cirque du Soleil or acrobatics that you see at the circus. But we've taken it to be really accessible for the average person who is just looking to move and move in a different way than the treadmill. Or maybe lifting weights isn't your thing. It's fun. You get to be upside down, you get to spin, and it feels like play, but you're moving your body in really different ways than normal life would have you move. So you're getting a great workout in also.
So flexible and fitness.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
And so what is your role in the company?
My role is part teacher, part everything else aside from vacuuming. I don't do the vacuuming anymore.
She's moving up.
Yeah, I've moved up. So I just coordinate our efforts and choose our direction. And I try to make myself available to my staff so that I'm really hearing what they're seeing out of the business. And then together we make choices about what our next step needs to be. So I'm really just a ringleader that has to do the paperwork as well.
Awesome. I love that. So Brandi,
yes.
I am so excited to talk to you today. If you guys can see, she brought some wonderful desserts for us, so I cannot wait to learn more about that. But can you tell our listeners more about you and more about your business?
Well, my name is Brandi. My company is Honey Butter Bakery. I have been in business for almost 13 years here in Charlotte. I actually started my business directly out of culinary school. I had been baking for years, and I had another business, but this particular one, I was just ready to take it head on, and I enjoyed what I doing in class. I didn't really need to go to culinary school, but it was just a passion of mine that I wanted to have that additional knowledge. And from there, I started Honey Butter Bakery, working business to business and doing business to consumer. So doing a lot of custom cakes, weddings, and just special events that people have needs for.
Honey Butter Bakery.
Yes.
And where did that name come from?
Well, I had another name that I wanted. I like food, so I thought Vanilla Bean, but Vanilla Bean was already taken. So I was just like running with names, and I really wanted something catchy. So Honey Butter Bakery came about. I will say, when you are creating a business name, you have to think about what the name says and what you're able to do. And at the time, it's a bakery, so everyone's like, "Where are you located?" Well, I'm not located anywhere. I don't have a storefront. So that was just one of the bad things about the name, but you can't put no other name with Honey Butter Bakery. So it just rang. So here we are.
Love it. And so what is your role in the company?
Everything. I wear many hats on a daily basis, and it can be overwhelming. So actually wrote it down one day and looked to see how many positions I have. I have about 13. So, I qualify for a lot of jobs. But, when you put it on a resume, of course, it looks totally different. So my primary role is to create wonderful desserts for anyone who has a sweet tooth. And if you don't have a sweet tooth, just want something good and delicious. And I'm just trying to drive the business in a direction that I desire that works for the lifestyle that I choose.
Love that. So you guys were actually on Charlotte Business Resources a while back, and this is your first time back.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, what's happened in the meantime? So can both of you kind of share a little bit about where you were when you first were on Charlotte Business Resources, what's changed, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so a lot has changed. Back in 2015, when Charlotte Business Resources initially did the interview, we were subletting 3,000 square foot space from an HVAC company. It was a loud cement box.
Wow.
We were a really small team of 4 or 5 teachers, and we ran 3 classes side by side, and we were tripping over each other all the time.
Wow.
Since then, we have graduated to a 10,000 square foot space just outside of Uptown with parking.
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's a plus.
That is a huge plus.
Yeah, kind of unheard of, right, to be Uptown with parking.
It is.
So that's our big win. We now have 7 teaching spaces that can operate simultaneously. So we offer 3 different class times a night across those 7 different teaching spaces. We're a staff of 13 now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So we've just exploded into this space that we were really fortunate to find. And I mean, I can't explain fully how much things have changed and grown, and really we've just grown into ourselves.
Yeah. So it's almost like double, triple the growth of what you were.
For sure.
What, in 2014, was it?
2014 or 15.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like 4 or 5 years later.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. We feel it.
Yeah. Sometimes a curse.
Right.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So what about you, Brandi?
Oh my goodness. So 2015, I actually remember when they came out, I was just all over the place. I just had a lot going on. I was so confused, didn't know what I wanted to do. And unfortunately for me, I have so many ideas and I want to execute all of them at the same time. So I'll start something and they'll be like, oh, tomorrow I want to start something new, but I haven't finished the other thing. So I was just all over the place, unfocused. At the time, I know I was doing, I had 7 retail stores that I had my products in, which was cheesecakes. And I really wanted to take that to the next level. But after some point, I'm one of those, once I achieve something, I'm ready to move on. And I felt like where I wanted to take it, just wasn't where I wanted to be at the time. And you end up becoming the demo lady when you're in a grocery store. So I really wanted to, beyond the demo lady. So I decided to just go into working one-on-one with the customer directly versus through a third party. And that's what I've been doing since then. So just working one-on-one with the customer. Do you want me to go into more further detail? Or is that good?
So that was great. Thank you. Both of you guys are in very different types of businesses. Mm-hmm. What are the challenges of being an aerial company that provides teaching and training, right? And then what are the challenges to being a pastry chef and owning a bakery?
I was all over the place, wanting to do so many, I had so many ideas in my head, that I really wanted to accomplish. I was working business to business, and I really wanted to work more with the customers, so I decided to go more into business to consumer. And I started doing more weddings and custom cakes. Through the process, WBTV Channel 3 had contacted me and said, hey, we want you to come on. Martin Luther King's birthday is coming up. We want you to do a demo. And I was like, sure. So I went on live to do a 4-minute segment on the WBTV Bounce. And through this process, I came on there, made a dessert, and actually forgot the pie that I was supposed to make. I had the filling, but not the pie. And so this is all live, and I really enjoyed it. So since 2014 to now, I do regular segments with Channel 3 on a regular basis, doing demos. So that's pretty cool, which I never thought in 2015 when we aired this particular segment that I would ever see myself doing live TV. And then my niece and I, we competed in a competition with the Cake Boss. He had a show. It's called Bake It Like Buddy. And it was called Bake It Like Buddy. And so you had to do some kind of creation. And we did a 4-hour segment where we had to bake the cake, decorate it, ice it within a short period of time. So if you ever see the segment, I do want you to know it says Bake It Like Buddy, not Decorate Like Buddy, because the cake was leaning a little. And it was all purple. It was supposed to be an ombre look. It's just like one big color, dark color. But anyway, so we did win our segment because it's Bake It Like Buddy. So it tasted wonderful. And he thoroughly enjoyed it. So we won our segment. So it's pretty cool, you know, just to be able to say that, you know, you've been on TV and that people hear the Cake Boss. So, but we do very successful in our custom business with weddings and custom cakes, which we thoroughly enjoy.
Are you looking for the perfect mentor to help you navigate starting a business? SCORE's confidential services are free to small business owners and startups, as well as late-stage companies. Their mentoring is face-to-face and tailored to your needs. If you want to learn more about SCORE, head over to cbrbiz.com. So, question about your live show,
Yes.
Channel 3.
Yes.
You are live and you realize you forgot something.
Yes.
What was the risk in the continuity plan? As a risk person, I just have to ask. What did you do?
Well, I just said, well, you know, when you have your pie, you know, you add it to it. And then I think by that time they cut. So I just knew, since it was my first time, I didn't know all the stuff I needed to bring with me. But since then, that's like one of those things that always haunt me. I'm going to forget something. So I'm always rethinking, overdoing something. And I'm one of those, I can't plan too far in ahead because if I do, I'll overthink it. So I have to just go with it. So those 2 or 3 minute segments work perfect for me because what I say is once it's done, you know, nothing else I could do. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah,
but.
I love that. So I bet when you started, you didn't think that you would be on TV.
Oh, no. There's just no way. There's no way you can predict that. Not at all. No. And then, you know, it's kind of funny because people, you know, my church members and friends, they'll be like, oh, you're our local celebrity. And I'm like, I am no one celebrity, but I will take celebrity money if it came with it. You know, I don't have any of that. So, but I will say Channel 3 did do a commercial on me a couple years ago. And so that would air on a consistent basis. So I'm in the grocery store and they'll stare. They'll give you that look, like, not sure if that's her or not. And, you know, my husband would be like, oh, it's just going to your head. No, people are staring. It's just beyond the normal stare. So.
She also was a comedian. She just didn't want to tell you guys that.
That's my story.
I love it.
Yes.
This is why I love this podcast. We have so much fun. So I want to talk about challenges because being an entrepreneur, it's a bumpy road. It can be a lonely road. And both of you have experienced growth. And growth sucks the oxygen and the life out of your business. So let's talk about some of those challenges that you encountered since the last time you were on this show.
Yeah. Our day-to-day challenge is convincing people that they're capable of so much more than they believe they are. Mm-hmm. So convincing folks to get in the door, really. And once we can kind of open up that conversation and as far as challenges regarding growth, it's really just keeping enough teachers on staff. We run a really tight team so that we have full-time positions for people who do want to make Aerial Charlotte their lifelong career, their 5-year career, whatever. So I don't hire many part-time employees, but that means we are lean. And if someone leaves and has another direction to take their life, then we're scrambling to kind of pick up a bit of the slack until we can find our next sister who wants to move forward. And finding the right people who can manage a classroom, who can make people feel just really encouraged and can believe in themselves. That's a really unique skill set. So we now have an amazing team. Every single person on the Aerial Charlotte team knows how to make a person believe in themselves and feel really accomplished when they leave. So I would say that's by far the biggest thing. Yeah. Just getting the right people.
So the underlying things I think I heard you say were about culture, people, human resources, and a little bit of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Messaging.
Yeah, exactly. I guess those are probably the themes for every business, right? You just define it differently for whatever the business is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. And Brandi, what about you? What were some of those challenges that you've seen?
2015, for me, it was going from one industry to the other. Just because I know how to bake doesn't mean every industry is ready for you. And you have to know enough about one industry to the other to be able to sustain the lifestyle that you're trying to live off of. And this is my full-time life, business, whatever you want to call it. So in 2015, I don't know if I actually started around that time, probably a few years later, I actually teach at CPCC to other business owners or people who are aspiring to be business owners. And so the challenges that we face is, in my industry, we're trendy. Mm-hmm. And what worked in 2015 may not work in 2020. The industry is always changing, flavors changing, health reasons. So there's many challenges because the industry is so wide. You have to really hone into your niche. Like hers is pretty specific. I mean, there's nowhere to get but there. So with the food industry, I do weddings, I do custom cakes for birthdays, and then you have where I can work with another restaurant or retail store. So you really have to define, what area you want to work in. And I'm one of those, I'm just broad. So for me, my challenge is and still is now, is just honing in onto one particular thing. 2015, it was just a few of us baking. You kind of knew who everyone was. Well, then the college laws came out and you can bake from home. Well, everyone bakes now. So the challenge is not only retail stores that you see and then the few people you see through social media, but it's those underlining, my coworker bakes, or my cousin bakes, or my sister bakes, or my cousin bakes, my mama bakes. And so, my little grandchild bakes now. So, it's just so many people who have the opportunity to make money just like you are. Mm-hmm. And that's the huge competition. So now the industry is so saturated, you have to really shine bigger than what you were before. And then with all that going on, social media is a bigger component to lifestyle now. And so if you don't have the presence of social media and you're fighting between 50 other people who are starting up their cake business, the paperwork doesn't mean anything when, you're trying to just come up with some kind of income and just try to have your own niche. And so that's the challenges I have found recently, is just finding my way through the whole process and fighting with social media and the people I don't know who are my competitors.
Yeah. So I hear differentiator. I hear competitors. What about third-party risk? Do you depend on other suppliers for everything that it takes to bake?
I do, and I haven't really found too many of an issue with that. I will say when you work in business to business, that does become an issue because your business is relying on someone else's business. Mm-hmm. So if I decide to partner up with a restaurant and that restaurant's business is slow, and if I only have, let's say, 4 or 5 and they're really doing well, if someone is out of business, that kind of takes away from my business as well. Yeah. So, and if they have suppliers that they've worked with that didn't work for them as well, that affects me as well. So it is a trickle-down effect. Mm-hmm. So it's best to deal directly with your suppliers so that you can alleviate some of those situations that may come up and not just have one supplier, have more than one, so that you can offset where one is not available to the other. Yep.
The Charlotte LGBT Chamber of Commerce provides its members with transformational networking and educational opportunities that increase the financial, intellectual, and social capital of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender business communities. The Charlotte LGBT Chamber of Commerce offers monthly networking events to highlight topics relevant to professionals and business owners within Charlotte. If you want to learn more about Charlotte LGBT Chamber of Commerce, head over to cbrbiz.com. Got it. So we touched on this before this podcast started, but what have you learned about yourself through this journey? And if you want to start before, you did your first video with Charlotte Business Resources, what have you learned about yourself as an entrepreneur?
I think the biggest lesson I learned is I cannot start the days with small tasks, such as emails. If I start the day with small tasks, my entire day is small tasks. And then you have no creative energy left to do the bigger picture things that are far more important. Those little emails that attack you all day, like they'll survive another 24 hours. So I've really had to make a effort every morning. I wake up, I start my computer, I don't have any notifications on. I get right to whatever big picture project that I gave myself the day before. So I don't even have to look at my task list. I already know what I'm going to wake up and spend that morning on. That made probably the biggest difference when I identified that and started to change it.
And what about you personally?
Personally, self-care. Yeah. Learning what self-care meant to me, how much I really needed of it. I learned that I am a lot more introverted than I realized. So teaching 10 classes a week isn't an option for me because I'd be out. I wouldn't be able to handle the back end of the business and managing a team. So quickly identifying what self-care was, making sure that I keep the time for that, and finding that quiet space where I'm away from technology, away from my phone, where people can't find me, because my health is very important to my quality of life, and businesses need to add to your quality of life, not control your life.
I feel like we should hashtag tweet that.
I know. I totally agree.
So what about you? What have you learned about yourself in business, and then what have you learned about yourself personally?
In business, it's a loaded question for me, just so you know. In business, I have learned that I'm all over the place, to be honest. I'm a thinker and a creator, and I like to create, and that's just my main focus. It's just to get out there and try something new. The food industry is ever creative. So, what was cool then is not cool now. Everyone's just trying to put hot sauce on some cupcakes and then sprinkle it with
bacon
or some lavender.
Thanks to Pinterest.
So, you have to stay up against those trends. And I'm a workaholic, and I know that about myself. And when you have a family, I do have a husband, 3 daughters, and 2 grandchildren. Ooh. And so when you have, and then I still have to be wife, mom, business owner. And that doesn't work well when all you want to do is just work hard. And I like to be there for others as well. Mm-hmm. So when she said self-care, totally get that. Because when we're in business, we tend to just work the business. It's our life. That's all we know. And then somewhere in there, we'll find 2 minutes out of the month for ourselves. And so this year, 2020, I said I was going to do more self-care for myself because my husband is always telling me that you do need to take time for yourself, for us. All I know is Honey Butter Bakery. He doesn't know Brandi Jones. So I have learned over the years to just minimize the amount of work that I'm putting on myself. It is okay to say no. And in business, we're not comfortable with saying no because when there's so many avenues someone can get services, you have to say yes because you don't know in business when the next dollar is going to come from. For her, doing emails is later. In my industry, I would say in 2015, you could do the 24 to 48 hours. I'm going to stick to it, but the customer's going to have to wait. Now it's like you have to respond within 2 to 4 hours because they will go to someone else. And so although you don't have to rush to do it, but you can manage it where it's not overwhelming and consuming you. So just finding that balance between life, business, and self is pretty much what I have learned over the past few years.
Yeah. And so I don't know how many competitors you have in this space, but I would imagine not too many.
Right.
Right?
Not too many. And the other businesses you could identify as our competitors have very different offerings than what we do. Yeah. One is a modern dance and aerial class space, but they focus mostly on dance. And then the other is aerobics, suspended aerobics or Pilates or yoga. So it's a bit different where Aerial Charlotte still focuses on the performance art aspect, but we're not throwing in dance and we're also not throwing in Pilates. So we each have kind of our niche, and that's worked well, I think, for all of us in Charlotte. So we're not really stepping on each other's toes, but we're also complimentary of what each other offers.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. So what do you wish that you would have known first when you started out that you now know today?
That it'd be okay. Mm-hmm. I think as any business owner, there's just so much anxiety. You accumulate risk, and there are people that depend on you, whether it be your clients or your staff. And I always have taken that very intensely, and I think I've just worn myself out in certain phases of the business's life where I just panicked and anxiety attacks and all of that sort of thing because I felt the pressure. But everything was ultimately okay. And I wish I could reach back and tell myself from 3 years ago, like, take a deep breath. The world's not ending. You know, if business slows down or you have to move spaces again or whatever, it's going to be fine. You're going to find a different groove, but still be able to take care of the people that rely on you.
I am.
Man, I got two things.
Brandi, what about you?
I totally agree with what she said. It is going to be okay. For me, saying no is okay, and it will be all right. And God will sustain you. He got you this far, and he will continue to get you even further. And if I lean on that, I will be all right. And just know that what you see out there and, you know, what everyone is doing in the industry doesn't mean they're really doing it. You know, everyone's putting up props and doing it for the gram. And so you can get overwhelmed with what you see scrolling down, up and down on your news feed. So saying no is okay, and it will be all right.
No is a complete sentence.
Yes,
it is. So what advice do you have for other, I want to focus on women, hashtag women owned. What advice do you have for other women owned small businesses?
When I would say earlier on in the studio's existence, I think I felt that being a woman and being more sensitive or more empathetic to how other people are feeling, I felt that was a negative or was slowing me down in some ways or distracting me. But now I consider my empathy, my intuition to be a huge asset. And as soon as I learned to trust what I was feeling and hearing on the inside, it really helped navigate the business to a place that was far more authentic. And that's something that I think most women can really relate to. We tend to be more empathetic than our men counterparts. We tend to be, some might say, emotionally volatile, but I think we just have more emotional high and lows. And we think those emotional highs are maybe not how we're really feeling. It's just hormones or whatever. But sometimes those are the most genuine moments where we feel something so intensely it's trying to tell us something. So yeah, have those intense feelings and outbursts and that sort of thing, but maybe do it in the closet. And then yeah, wait for it to pass, write down what you learned, and then move forward with that lesson. So lean into the womanness that, you know, controls all of our feelings and cycles and all of that stuff.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Brandi?
I would say to any other woman who is aspiring to do something for themselves, to just do it. I mean, there's a wealth of information for women, and there are many women who will band together to help each other, to do it. Go for it. It's in you. We were built for this. Yeah. God has a set of tools for us. He built us a certain way, and he built us to do what we desire to do. Those emotions that we have, when we have a breakdown, it makes us stronger every single time. And that's what we need for us. For men, it's a problem, but for us, it fuels us to just do more and better. And once we get that cry out, it's like, let's do it, you know?
That like real hard cry,
yeah,
too.
It's that real hard, get in there slobbering and everything, you know, just get it in there. So, and just believe in yourself. A lot of times we as women, we break each other down without even realizing that we're doing it. But just try to find that gang of team of friends who, whether even if they're not your friends, it may be in another industry, another state, country, whatever, can get those few people on your team and just band together and let them know what you need. And you'll be surprised. Most of us feel the exact same way. We're just too afraid to ask. And we don't want to seem weak because we're in a male-dominated industry. So we already feel like, you know, we have that weakness that we're trying to barrier that we're trying to break through them, and then we don't want to seem weak to another female, but we have it in each other and we're willing to help each other. So I just met her today and I feel like I already know her.
Right,
so, you know.
Right. Come on, sisters. My biggest lesson that I learned thus far as an entrepreneur is to get rid of the head noise. Mm-hmm. So our former guest that we had here was Stacey Cassio, and she does an awesome job with the Pink Mentor Network. And we talked about that head noise, those assumptions and the lies that we tell ourselves, and it affects our confidence, and fear grips onto us. And so being able to overcome that and just be vulnerable and be authentic has just been helpful for me to just kind of let it out. And to your point, that cry feels so good. It just feels good to cry.
It
does. So this has been very, very insightful. And so Amy and Brandi, if you can tell our listeners, where can they find you? Whether that is social media, on the web, phone number, email, address, whatever it is, where can they find you?
Yeah, so we've got a very helpful website, aerialclt.com. It's AERIALCLT.com, or on Instagram at AerialCLT. Either place has loads of information, how to sign up for class, links to each other. Those are the best places to get started.
Awesome.
Awesome. Honey Butter Bakery. We are honeybutterbakery.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Also, in the next month or so, we actually will be providing desserts for Public House restaurant that will be on 300 South Brevard Street, which is next to Middle C Jazz, which I also provide desserts for them as well. So you can get us on a regular basis, in addition to just ordering us from directly.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much for listening. Do you want to learn more? Head to cbrbiz.com to have access to resources on starting and growing your business. If you're an entrepreneur looking to take your business to the next level, look no further than Charlotte Business Resources.